Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, and today I'm going to discuss the top 3 landscape photography locations in Death Valley National Park. So every year, my family and I load up the van and we head and do basically a desert tour for a month. This year it was only a week, so we had to kind of pick and choose where we wanted to go. And Death Valley National Park has always been one of our favorite locations to go in the winter because it's always warm. It's just a great spot to visit when it's not blistering hot in the summertime. So in this video, I want to kind of go over the 3 spots that I've chosen as the best landscape photography spots. Now, I want you to understand that Death Valley National Park is 3.4 million acres. So it is a massive, the largest national park in the lower 48 states. That being said, there are numerous, hundreds if not thousands of landscape photography locations. But if this is your first time visiting, that's kind of what I want to talk about, is the best 3 spots that you can count on in Death Valley National Park to get good landscape photos and to enjoy to make the most of your time while you're visiting. So if you guys are new to the channel, you've never been here, what I want to say is in the description, there will be a link to my freshly built website that my wife and I have been laboring on. And on that website, you can sign up for my weekly blogs as well as download my free ebook, which I will also put in the description. And it's a great place to start for somebody who's a beginner photographer who is trying to learn the basics. The 3 things I lay out in the ebook are just simple items that I wish I knew when I started my landscape photography journey probably roughly 3 years ago. So that is a good resource for you guys. The website's a good resource for anybody who wants to learn. I am going to start having courses, one-on-one coaching sessions, things to kind of help the beginner photographer come along and to learn the things that they need to know in a quick order, as opposed to years and years of laboring over a camera and trying to figure it out yourself. So number 1 on my list of the top 3 landscape photography places in Death Valley National Park is the Mosquit Flat Sand Dunes. So the Mosquit Flat Sand Dunes are one of many sand dunes locations in Death Valley National Park, but it is the largest, and it's named after the mesquite trees that you'll see growing throughout the dunes, which can sometimes present a problem for compositions. Other times they can allow you to have greater compositions and more ideas, and you can use the trees within the photography. But if you're trying to get an overall shot of the dunes, they sometimes can be pesky, so you will have to use a spot removal tool in either Lightroom or Photoshop. I would recommend doing that correction in Photoshop. But the Mosquit Flat Sand Dunes are an epic place. They are extremely massive. The sand dune that you see from the road is the largest dune. You can see the largest dune from the road when you pull in. So my recommendations for the Mosquit Flat Sand Dunes are, probably don't go in the summertime. And if you do go in the summertime, I would stay closer to the parking lot because it's really hot. Everybody knows Death Valley is extremely hot. So I would be careful how far you go out into the dunes when it's really hot. But in the wintertime, I would suggest taking the whole afternoon, maybe starting around 2 p.m., because depending upon the time you're there, you can expect sunset to be around 5:30. So getting there a little bit early and just walking around the dunes, kind of hiking through the dunes. That's what we did on our trip, my wife and my daughter and I. We just traveled around the dunes for about 2 hours, and we hiked all the way out to the largest dune. We checked out that composition. We hiked down to some lower areas. We checked those compositions, and we just kind of worked with what we had. We did have a pretty good sunset that night, and if you guys do not have the My Sunset app, I have no affiliation with My Sunset, but that app will tell you the percentage of a chance you have for either sunrise or sunset in terms of cloud cover. So cloud cover is generally what makes a sunset or a sunrise good or bad. And if you don't have any, your sunrise or sunset will be kind of bland. So this is a good way for you to gauge how good the sunset or sunrise is going to be, so you can kind of plan for that. But the Mesquite Flat sand dunes just require you to walk around and try new things. We hiked around, we found a couple of compositions that we liked. We tried the top of the largest sand dune, it was okay, then we went back down to a lower section. This is all about exploration. This is the spot in Death Valley National Park that a lot of people go to take photos. So you are going to be dealing with other people, other photographers, or just, sightseers. So you're gonna have to take that into consideration. And the reason I say hike around is the further you get away from the parking lot, the less people there are. So generally, you can make it pretty deep into the sand dunes before sunset. You can kind of set up and you won't see another soul. So I would recommend, if you go there, you just try new things and you be creative and you walk around. The shot that I'm most proud of Mesquite sand dunes is not really of the sand dunes. There was just a lot of cracked earth from where the water had been, and the water seeped through and created these awesome cracks in the earth. There was some sand in the image, but it wasn't what I was anticipating getting while I was there, but it worked out, and that was all because we were just willing to kind of be flexible and be creative. If I go back, or when I go back, I will try different compositions, but just kind of work with what you're given. Travel through the sand dunes, find different compositions, try different things, ditch the tripod for a while, and just see what you can come up with prior to the sun, setting and giving you that good golden light that you're searching for. Number 2 on my list for the best photography locations in Death Valley National Park is Lake Manley, also known as Badwater Basin. Now, if you're watching this in 2024, or you're watching this any time shortly after it was released, then there's a really strong likelihood that there is a lot of water in Lake Manley, aka Badwater Basin. Now, this water is from all the rain that the Pacific coast has been getting over the wintertime. There's been several atmospheric rivers that have came through, dumping a ton of water into Death Valley, and the storms over the past 2 summers have really created a lot of water runoff and a lot of water buildup inside Lake Manley. This lake is not generally a lake. Lake Manley existed as an indirect effect of glaciation during the Ice Age. So what would happen is the glaciers in the Sierra Nevada mountains would melt, and it would fill the lake basin. And eventually it formed a huge lake. Well, that has all since dried up, but right now, during this season, the 2024 winter season, there is a ton of water in Lake Manley, which gives you some of the most incredible reflections. You're not going to get the traditional octagonal shapes in the salt from the water runoff and then the water drying up. So you are going to get water shots of a lake in Death Valley, which is very, very rare. So if you have the opportunity to take advantage of that now, I would strongly suggest that you do that. If not, anytime you go back there, it is an absolutely beautiful place to be able to take photographs. You have mountains completely surrounding you, and the sunsets from this perspective are absolutely beautiful. You can actually drive along the highway, park in a parking lot, and you can get into Badwater Basin or Lake Manley, whichever you want to call it, in less than a quarter mile of a walk. So it's a really easy location for you to be able to get to, and it also presents you opportunities for just some magical shooting right now. If you can make it in the winter, I highly suggest you take advantage of the opportunity, because after the summer months, that water's all going to dry up, and then we don't know if or when we'll ever get it again. It's that rare of a thing to see Lake Manley with this much water in it. So I would definitely take advantage of the opportunity if you can. If not, even when you go back, it is a beautiful place to take some epic landscape photos, and I highly suggest you put this on your list for your next trip. Number 3 on the list would be Zabriskie Point. Zabriskie Point is not only an incredible feature within Death Valley National Park, but it is so extremely easy to get to. Now, This is for anybody who doesn't want to, really push it and hike too far to try to get that epic photo. I think a lot of photography, landscape specifically, that is done in a very remote location, it generally shows in the photo. You can generally see how far someone had to trek to get this photograph. But with Zabriskie Point, it's a less than a quarter-mile walk up a paved path, and you are presented this beautiful, beautiful landscape. It's composed of sediments from Furnace Creek Lake, which dried up 5 million years ago, long before Death Valley came into existence. And if you've ever seen Zabriskie's Point, you'll know exactly what I mean. It is just these rolling hills and pillars of this multi-layered sedimentary rock. It's absolutely incredible, and you don't have to work hard to get there. That's why I put this on my list. I was trying to create this video, but also give people an opportunity that have never been to Death Valley to find the best 3 spots for photographs. I've been there multiple times, and it's always difficult trying to search the internet to find the best spots for landscape photography because there's so many different opinions and there's so many different options. Now, Zabriskie's Point is very easy to get to, which means there's going to be a ton of people there. When we were there, at sunset one night, I mean, there was no shortage of 50 people running around with cameras, and everything from professional photographers all the way down to just regular tourists who are taking pictures with their iPhone and taking selfies. That's kind of what you have to deal with. Now, if you really want to get immersed in Zabriskie's Point and you're physically fit enough to do so, I would suggest walking around the essentially guardrail where everybody sits to watch the sunset and go get into the sedimentary rock. Go walk down there and get into it where there's nobody around. You get completely different compositions than what you get from up top. But up top provides you an opportunity to see the entire Zabriskie's Point area, and it really is magical. You will be very happy with whatever photographs you get from there, but if you do want to get something that is truly unique and specific, I would recommend you hike into the area and search out a composition that you haven't seen before. So I did not try to do that this time, and maybe next time I will, because now I have a little bit more information about the area and where I want to go next. Obviously, I don't want to recreate the same exact image I shot last time, so I will take this a little bit further, but those are my top 3 spots, and the reason they're my top 3 is because they're easy to get to, they're extremely photogenic, and it's a good opportunity for somebody who is, even seasoned photographers, but somebody who's just learning to get their feet wet with some absolutely epic landscapes and really try their hand at editing these once the process is over and you're back home or you're back in your camper or your tent and you have your memory card. It really does present you opportunities that are far and above some other places that I've been. So if you found this video helpful, I would please ask you to subscribe to the channel, come along for more adventures, and I will see you on the next one.